Today we are kicking off Pie Month. We're going to be making small batch pies all month long. Now, whether you are celebrating small for Thanksgiving or you just have a craving for a pie but you don't need a whole pie, these recipes are going to be perfect. And we're going to start with banana cream pie. We are going to start with the banana filling because it needs to cool a little bit. Now, a lot of banana cream pies use a banana pudding mix, which I think gives the pie an artificial banana taste. Now, it's kind of like, tastes like those banana flavored taffies, which I like, but I don't want that flavor in my pie. So we're going to use real banana to infuse our pudding with. Now, it does create a little bit more work, but I promise it's worth it. All right, we're going to start by slicing up our banana. And I'm just going to take our banana and we're going to cut it just into about half-inch pieces. We're going to pop those into a small saucepan and add in a half of a tablespoon of butter. We're going to take it over to our stovetop and cook those bananas. We're going to add in 1 cup of milk, and I am using whole milk. We're going to let this come to a boil and then just boil for 30 seconds. And then we're going to remove it from the heat, cover it, and let it sit for about 20 to 30 minutes. This is going to allow all that yummy banana flavor to infuse into the milk. While our banana mixture is cooling, we're going to work on our pie crust. And for today's pie, we're going to use a pastry pie crust, but you could also use a graham cracker crust if you prefer. And if you want to use a graham cracker crust, go ahead and check out my video up here, which will give you all the ingredients and the directions on how to do that. So for our pastry crust, I'm going to use my food processor, but if you don't have a food processor, you can use a bowl and a pastry blender or your hands. So in this bowl, we're going to combine 1 1/4 cups of flour, a pinch of salt, and a half of a cup of salted butter. And you want the butter to be chilled. Use your hands, the food processor, pastry blender, combine these ingredients until small pebbles form. Then we're going to add in some ice cold water, just a teaspoon or tablespoon at a time until the dough begins to come together and forms into a ball. Now, don't overhandle or work the dough. You want it to be soft, but moist, but not wet. I have rolled out my pie crust. I'm going to show you a little trick to trying to get a somewhat round pie crust. When you rotate. Roll once, then rotate. Is that 90 degrees? 90 degrees. Roll again, rotate, roll again, and keep doing that as you roll out your dough, and that will help your dough to be somewhat round. All right, we're going to take our pie tins and just place it down on our dough. You want to leave about an inch, 1.5 inches of border around, and just go ahead with a paring knife or a dinner knife and cut your dough, all right? We're going to take this, and I have rolled it out on a piece of parchment paper, makes it much easier to get it up. And I've just laid my dough right into my pie tin, pushing it down in. Now for this particular pie, we're going to bake this pie crust first. It's called a blind bake. And then we're going to fill it because we don't bake it after we fill it. Then just go ahead and form your edge pull that dough up. And I like to do a fluted crust. So just take your fingers, you're going to pinch your dough all the way around for a pretty little fluted edge. We're going to set that aside and we're going to do that again. Now we're going to have to re-roll our dough to get another pie crust out. Again, just kind of rotate as you roll. Just get it so that when you put your pan down, you've got at least an inch, 1.5 inches edge around. All right. Then we're going to do the same thing with this one. Right, now I have preheated my oven to 375 degrees. So what we're going to do is we're going to use pie weights in our pie crust. I've lined it with parchment paper, and then we're going to fill it with these little pie weights. Now, if you don't have pie weights, you want to get it inside the parchment paper. If you don't have pie weights, you can use dry beans. Like if you've got a bag of dry navy beans or, black beans or some kind of bean in your pantry, that will work. Because what this is doing is it is weighting down the pie crust to prevent it from puffing up as it bakes. Now, if you don't have beans and you don't have pie weights, you can just take a fork, go ahead and it's what is called docking the pie, and you just push little your fork into the bottom of the pie, making little holes, which will help some of that air escape that's going to cause it to puff up. All right, so you can do that too. You still may get some puffing and shrinking, but it's better than not doing it. So I've got my 2 little pies ready to go in the oven. We're going to bake them at 375 for 12 to 13 minutes, and then we're going to remove those pie weights and paper and bake it for a little bit longer. All right, we are ready now to make this pudding. So we've got our banana infused milk, and we want to strain out the banana. So just go ahead and pour it through a sieve. There we go. All right, we're going to set those bananas aside. We're not going to use them, so go ahead and throw them away, eat them, whatever you want. All right, we've got our milk. All right, we've got our saucepan emptied out, and we are going to take 6 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 2 egg yolks, a 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream, and then we're just going to grab a fork, mix that together. Going to add in a pinch of salt and our banana infused milk. Then we need a thickening agent, so we are going to take 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. Just go ahead and whisk that in. And then we're going to take it over to the stove top, over to the heat, and over medium heat, we're going to cook it for about 3 to 4 minutes until it thickens up and becomes pudding-like. All right, I've cooked it just until it's come to a boil and it is starting to thicken up. We're going to turn off the heat, and then we're going to add some butter and vanilla to it. So as soon as that butter is all melted in, we're then going to take some plastic wrap and put it over the top of the pudding. Now you want it to actually touch the surface of the pudding, because as it cools, if we don't put this on there, it's going to form a skin. You don't want a skin on your pudding. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to just set this aside, let it come to room temperature. So in addition to our sliced bananas and our banana pudding pie filling, we're going to need some whipped cream. I took a 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream, added about 2 teaspoons of sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and whipped it into nice stiff peaks. So into our baked cooled pie crust, we're going to add 1/4 of the pudding mixture into the bottom of each pie. Then we're going to layer our bananas, 1/2 banana in each pie, then add the remaining pudding mixture on top of that. All right, then on top, the final touch is we're going to add some of that whipped cream right on top, and I'm using my offset spatula here to spread it. And then the very, very final touch is I've taken some toasted sliced almonds, and we're going to sprinkle those on top. I like a little crunch to my sweet. Oh, there we go. 2 pies are ready. We're going to stick these in the refrigerator for a couple of hours or even overnight to let them set up, and then we're ready to dig in. Now make sure you check out all my other small batch pie recipes here on YouTube by clicking down below, and I'll see you in the next video.